Okay, it is 7 p.m. I am going to call the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. I am Lauren Christensen, the president of the board. Welcome. Thank you for everyone who's here in attendance this evening and those of you who are watching at home. I'm going to ask my other fellow board members to introduce themselves, starting with Member Sidhu.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anupam Chugsadhu. Thanks for being here.
Good evening. I'm Judy Westra. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Patrick Keogh. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Patty McCoy, thank you for coming out tonight.
Okay, our student co-chair.
Hi everyone, I'm Saeed Pawar and I'm a senior at Canton High School as well as a student co-chair for Student Voice in Action. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Merritt is not here tonight because she is attending a conference. So in her place, I'm going to kick it over to Beth Rail to introduce herself and the team.
Good evening. I'm Beth Rail, Chief Academic and Innovation Officer. Welcome to everyone for being here tonight. I'd like to begin by introducing Ms. Diane Robertson, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and the Board, and thank her for being here to take our minutes. I would also like to ask the remaining members of the administrative team to introduce themselves to you, starting with Ms. Minnick.
Good evening. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jill Minnick. I'm Chief Finance and Operations Officer.
Good evening. I'm Abdul Matyoun. I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer.
Good evening, Liz Vartanian Gibbs, Assistant Superintendent, Student and Family Engagement.
Okay, great. Thanks. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, on to the adoption of the agenda and approval of the consent agenda. May I please have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we adopt the agenda, approve consent agenda, action item number 25-09-10.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Member Sidhu and seconded by Treasurer Kehoe. Ms. Rail, can you take us through the consent agenda, please?
Thank you, President Christensen. This evening, our consent agenda consists of human resources transactions since our last time together. We have new hires, leaves, and retirements for your consideration. We also have the approval of the minutes from the September 10th meeting, and we have a first reading of policy 6520, payroll deductions, and a final reading of policy 6350, prevailing wage. Finally, we have the following action item for your consideration, a tentative agreement with the Plymouth Canton Education Association.
Great, thank you. All right, I'm going to call for the vote. Those in favor, please say yes.
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 Yes. Those opposed, say no. Motion carries. How many do we have? 5-0. Okay, Mr. Madoon.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I would first like to bring attention to our retirements before I bring up the new hires. So we have two retirements this evening. Brent Archer, who was an elementary classroom teacher at Isbister, who's been an employee at the district since January of 2001. And Jamie Sinkbell, out of my department, at the admin building. She's an employment coordinator. She has been employed with the district since September of 2010. We would like to wish them well in their retirement. So I do have a few new hires, just a few this time. We're getting to be full. So those who are here, when I call your name, could you stand up? Afterwards, I'm going to take you outside the meeting to present you with a little sweet treat that we give to all our new hires. So my first one I want to speak of is Kayla Evans, who's hired as elementary classroom teacher at Tonda. Ryan Han, language arts teacher at Liberty. Chelsea Jackson, elementary classroom teacher at Farron. Leah Kotlinski, integrated science teacher at Discovery. Jessica Raymond, integrated science teacher at East. Jennifer Young, resource room teacher at Plymouth. We also have Stephanie Petovello, who has been recommended for the technical coordinator position at P-CCS Educational Support Center. So those were our new hires for today. New hires, could you follow me outside so I can present you with your sweet treat? And at that point, you can come back in for the rest of the meeting, or you can leave.
It's exciting.
Congratulations.
Al- Also, I have from the PCEA that would like to speak a few moments, the president, JJ. And I have Seth Furlow here that would like to, I don't know, are you speaking today, Seth?
I'm not speaking.
You're not speaking? So JJ has a few words to talk about the TA that we just signed.
Hey, good morning, everybody, or good evening, I should say. It's been a long 8 months. For those of you who don't know me, my name is JJ Lockwood, and I am the president of the Plymouth Canton Education Association, and I'm also the chief negotiator. I'm also the husband to a Smith kindergarten teacher and the father of 2 Salem Rocks. Needless to say, I'm pretty involved in P-CCS in a wide variety of ways. Tonight, though, I'm here regarding the PCEA tentative agreement. When we started, way back in February, I ridiculously thought, great, we've never started this early. We'll be done by summer easy. Between navigating changes in legislation, new members to the overall team, and last-minute state budget changes, this one took a little bit longer than we anticipated. All of the members of this bargaining team, regardless of which side they were representing, worked together and grew tremendously along the way. I would like to recognize the board's commitment to fair compensation and working conditions, because it not only strengthens our teaching staff, but in turn enhances the quality of education for our students. The PCA appreciates your dedication to valuing and investing in our educators. So thank you from the PCA in support of the teacher contract.
And that will be it for HR today.
Great, thank you very much, everyone. Okay, moving on to celebrating success, and I have the pleasure to be the presenter this week, so excuse me while I move on. Okay, this evening, the Board of Education is honored to celebrate the exceptional contributions of our staff with the presentation of 2 Extra Miler Awards from Isbister Elementary School. The first award goes to Joe Bublitz, the Student Support Coordinator, and the second goes to Crystal Madera Gadia, the Office Paraprofessional. Joe exemplifies a student-centered approach in all that he does. He consistently makes an effort to connect with students during arrival, lunchtime, and recess, fostering an inclusive environment. Joe is always willing to assist his colleagues, and has taken on numerous additional responsibilities by demonstrating remarkable commitment to our school community. His selfless dedication of both time and energy significantly enhances the student experience. Joe actively seeks innovative ways to support students academically and in their social-emotional development. His unwavering positivity, reliability, and commitment to promoting student growth are admirable. He approaches challenges with a proactive attitude and a genuine smile, making him an invaluable asset to our district. Now I would like to turn our attention to Crystal Madera Gadia. Crystal is a shining light in the Isbister lunchroom and office, creating an inviting and vibrant atmosphere for both students and staff. Her warm smile and readiness to assist are the qualities that students sincerely appreciate. They feel comfortable approaching her, knowing she's always there to lend support. Crystal welcomes students and families each morning, setting a positive tone for the day. Crystal consistently gives total effort in every task she undertakes. She enthusiastically tackles challenges, seeks innovative solutions, and actively engages in school activities. Furthermore, she is an encouraging presence for our students, uplifting their spirits on difficult days. We are truly fortunate to have her dedication and passion within our district. At this time, I would like to invite Emily Hawthorne, the principal of Isbister Elementary School, up to the podium to share her insights about both Joe and Crystal's remarkable contributions to P-CCS. Emily?
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. It is so wonderful that we get to honor Crystal and Joe with such a significant, in such a significant way with this award. This feels awkward. And I love that there's such a great attendance tonight, which doesn't make me nervous at all to talk in front of everyone. But as I thought about what I wanted to share this evening, I was thinking about our theme this year, which is You Belong Here, emphasis on the B since we're the Isbister Bees. And so both Crystal and Joe really embody a sense of belonging and cultivate it throughout our school community. And so as I thought about what I wanted to share, there's so many things that connect with both of them, but I wanted to say a couple things about them individually. So Crystal, yes, she takes on our lunchroom and is our office para. She also does our morning arrival and dismissal loop. And it is truly amazing to watch her in action. I feel like I want to look at you while I'm talking. But she knows every student's name and the names of all our family members, literally moms, dads, grandpas, grandmas, aunts, uncles, and she intentionally interacts with all of them, and it's such a great wraparound to start the day and end the day every day, and she does it with such a warm, welcoming smile with music and is dancing out there, and it's amazing to watch. And Joe, in the back corner with his family back there, I was thinking about something Dr. Merritt shared for our opening administrator's address, how she talked about how we talk about kids and how we talk to kids impacts them and becomes their internal voice that they say themselves, and the power of relationships. And Joe is so intentional about his interactions with kids, and he really listens to them, and he looks at every interaction as a gift and an opportunity to positively impact kids, and it's incredible to watch as well. So thank you for this opportunity to share. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Ms. Hawthorne. Okay, on behalf of the Board of Education, I'm delighted to present the Mary Beth Carroll Extra Miler Awards to both Joe Bublitz and Crystal Madera Gadia. This award recognizes their extraordinary commitment to going above and beyond in supporting of the students and staff of the Plymouth Canton Community Schools. I would like to now invite both Joe and Crystal up for to accept their rewards and say a few words if you'd like. Congratulations. And it's for, Crystal. Thank you. Come on up, say a few words.
Thank you, President Christensen. When I think Plymouth Canton, I think about family. That's why I wanted my family here tonight. Isbister has been a great family for me the past 2 years. The staff, the family, our community really embodies everything that Plymouth Canton should be, wants to be, and we strive to be. Thank you so much for this award tonight.
Thank you. I really appreciate this. I get that, it's a lot of hard work, but I'm up to it, and I love every minute of it. And Isbister is definitely the place where I should be. Thank you.
Congratulations to both of you on this well-deserved honor. Okay. Give me just a moment. No problem. Log back in, maybe. There, third time's a charm. Okay, that's our favorite part of the board meetings always. So we love to celebrate champions for our district. But moving on now to our board committee reports and action. I am going to give the president's report. A couple updates for you. As mentioned at our previous meeting, we're currently in the process of filling the board vacancies, the single seat that has been vacated. And I wanted to let the community know, or remind the community, that that application window is now open. If you are a community member who is interested in being considered for the position, please submit a letter of intent or a resume to Miss Diane Robertson via email, or it can be hand-delivered here at the board office at the E.J. McClendon Education Center. The deadline is actually tomorrow evening at 4:30 p.m., so this is just a friendly reminder that we're approaching that deadline quickly. Interviews will take place at a public special board meeting that has been scheduled for Tuesday, October 1st, 2024 at 6 p.m. If you need any other information, you can also find this posted on our district website. In addition, I want to share another update. I want to actually invite Mr. Ruggiero up to the podium to provide a community update.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's my great pleasure to represent Dr. Merritt tonight in talking about a possible new partnership for our school district. As your partnership officer, I was contacted several months ago by the City of Plymouth about the possibility of another partnership with the district. I'm not sure how many people know this, but we've got a long history of partnerships with the City of Plymouth that have been very successful. I said to Mayor Deal before the meeting, I wonder how many people know that the property that the Cultural Center sits on belongs to the school district, and that it was leased for $1 in 1970. It's a 100-year lease, and that partnership has gone fantastic. It's been for recreation purposes, and I think everybody in the community has been in that building or has used that building for something. So it's kind of a tribute to the great work that we've done with our city, with the City of Plymouth. So with that, to tell you a little bit more about a new partnership that is possible for us here is Mayor Susie Deal and City Manager Paul Sincock.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate that. Members of the board, we've been working with the schools for a long time. We've got other partnerships. For example, I just talked about this a few minutes ago at our Citizens Academy. But one of the partnerships we have with the schools is we actually use your fuel tanks to fuel all of our vehicles and all of that. We pay a little slight upcharge for that, and you take care of all the paperwork to take the taxes off the fuel. So that works out really well for us. And so this is something that's been coming up. We've talked about the need for recreational fields and recreational space in our community. And so we talked with Frank and the team and Dr. Merritt, and we came up with a plan that would allow us conceptually to kind of repeat the Cultural Center experience at East Middle School on the athletic fields over there, to put in a artificial turf surface at that surface, and then the schools use it during the school time, and then we use it in the late afternoon, evening for recreational purposes and on the weekends and those kinds of things. So we think it's a good opportunity for the community to again come together and have a great partnership. So we're very pleased that we, at least conceptually at this point, we're out for a millage for recreation right now. That's on the November ballot. And so, assuming that goes well, then we'll be back and having more detailed discussions with Dr. Merritt and Frank and the board as we move forward.
Yes, thank you. Again, I just wanted to thank you as well. This is a great opportunity for us with the city to work with you. I know we're excited for what we can put together for our city with recreation that we can offer our neighboring communities also. So thank you very much for this consideration and keeping our fingers crossed for November 5th and being in future contact with all of you. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to our special guests, Mayor Deal and City Manager Sincock. I just want to remind my fellow board colleagues that this is really just an update, so we really appreciate your time coming to our meeting. If you do have any questions or comments that you would like to be considered for future discussions between the city and our district, please filter them or funnel them over to both Patty and myself and Dr. Merritt and for those future conversations. So thank you very much. And that concludes my president's report. Okay, on to Student Performance and Achievement Committee with Member Sadoo.
Thank you, President Christensen. We met as a committee last Wednesday and had a lot of great discussions around assistive technology for students, what it is and what it isn't. And in terms of some of the programs that the assistive technology consultants have purchased, there are a few that are available to all students. And I'd like to mention in particular the Read and Write program. And that is a tool that was designed to help the students with an IEP or 504, but that is actually available to all students. So I would encourage you and your child to explore that. It's in the Chromebook. And there will be additional supports and additional tutoring that will be happening with how to use some of the tools on the Chromebooks. There are other assistive technologies that they have that are based on student need, but we want to thank the assistive technology team for giving us an update on what students are getting in terms of the service based on their IEP and 504, and kind of clear up some misconceptions as to what assistive technology is not. Beth, is this going to be available online with a presentation?
Yeah, I can put it online, linked into the SPA agenda. So in the SPA agenda, on the SPA subcommittee notes, we'll have the presentations linked. I'll do that after this meeting. Yep.
I encourage all of you to look at these presentations. Another great update was the K through 12 counseling professional learning update. There have been a lot of changes to the counseling department based on the American School Counselors Association as well as the Michigan Career Development Model. So our counselors have been really busy getting updates and training from these organizations. And one of the things that we got an update about was the educational development plan, which all students work on in middle school, and they actually revisit that annually all through high school using a program called Zello. And I'm grateful that we actually had a student in our committee and shared the great experience he had through Zello. So if your child hasn't talked about Zello, I would encourage you to have that conversation with your child. It's a great program. And it's a living document, so it gets updated based on the student's interest and some of the other things with job reports, what's in the news. So a lot of great work happening with the counseling department. The other thing we talked about was the high school ELA course materials for multicultural literature, which is actually a one-year course now. And that will come to the board for a vote. And I think that was the only course for the board. Another topic, which actually coincidentally happened to be on the same day as me visiting Lansing to get a legislative update, and that is around cell phone bans. So the state is looking at a cell phone ban, which you probably have heard about happening in other states, other counties. And so we actually had a discussion already planned within the committee, had a robust discussion with community members, students, faculty, board members. There is a lot to unpack there. So we will have a lot more conversations around what that is, what does that look like for our community, what does that look like for different grade levels. So just a heads up that this is just the start of a broader conversation. Anything else you want to add?
I was just going to suggest that possibly we should bring the cell phone discussion to the broader board at some point.
Yes, thank you. Our next meeting is October 2nd at 5 p.m. in this room. So please join us.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to the policy committee with Vice President McCoyne.
Thank you. So we actually met tonight, and we looked at several policies that we had been holding while our legal counsel could come to our meeting, and because they were reviewing them. So we ultimately decided with evaluation of superintendent, there was nothing in our old policy that we need to change because it's compliant with the law. And any changes would have to be a contract renegotiation, so we're holding off on that. Our purchasing policy, due to the way Neola uploads, that it has to be, we have to get the changes that have been made to their changes, so we're holding off on that one right now. Animals on district property, we have a few more questions around that, and that will come back with the answers. And then religious patriotic ceremonies and observances, we are leaving that as it is. Neola had made some changes based on a Supreme Court ruling, but our attorney said that because when there's a Supreme Court ruling, it kicks back down to the lower courts, and then there's laws around that, to leave it until the whole thing is done, because at this point we are compliant. And then the last thing we talked about was school visitors, which was around the, everybody may have seen the information around the kiosks that have been placed around the district in the lobbies, and what to do if you are not in possession of a U.S. issued ID card. So that was what we talked about tonight, and our next meeting is October 22nd, 2024. We meet at 5:30 at the collaboration space, which is way down to the end of this hallway. Everyone is welcome.
Thank you, Vice President McCoyne. On to Finance and Operations Committee with Treasurer Kehoe.
Great. We met last Thursday at 5 p.m. and we discussed a number of things, including a presentation on the summer bond work, which we'll see here tonight, and all the great activities that have happened throughout the district over the summer. We also had a robust discussion on our custodial firm, ABM, and a potential contract renewal, which will also be on the agenda for this evening for discussion. We also had a discussion that was not on the formal agenda, but it was around some of the air conditioning work and the challenges that we've had throughout the district. For those of you that recognize it, September's been a much warmer month than we would have normally anticipated, and it's resulted in some challenges we've had with our air conditioning systems. In particular, at the high schools, both Plymouth and Salem have got equipment that's on order to rectify and address those problems. Canton, which had been very challenging in both the spring and the summer, seems to be working almost too well, with some people complaining that the rooms are too cold at Canton. We're still watching out for that equipment at Canton because it has been problematic for us, especially during the season changes, and we'll be paying attention to that. We've also had some challenges at our elementary schools with workmen that requires an occasional chiller reset to occur, and making sure that we've got the right staff to be able to facilitate that. At Bentley, they had a problem that's been rectified and fixed, and a whole thing that needed to be reconfigured and reprogrammed to make sure it has the right set points. So the operations team has been working very hard with our internal plant engineers and our staff to try to make sure that all of this equipment is working properly. I think we probably crested on the big heat wave that we have, but rest assured that they are working through these things and that we'll be prepared for a warm spring when it comes. Our next meeting is on, Thursday, October 3rd, here in this room at 5 p.m., and we welcome you to join us.
Great, thank you, Treasurer Kehoe. Okay, on to Student Voice and Action Committee, and I'm going to pass that on over to Saeed Poor.
Okay, so we had our first meeting of the school year last Monday where we discussed our new member process, assigned representatives from each school to promote student voice and action, and we began to plan our initiatives for this school year. The application to join Student Voice and Action was recently emailed to all P-CCS students in grades 6 through 12 and will close on October 6th. There is also a link to the application on the P-CCS website, and our next meeting will be on October 21st at 4:30 p.m. at the Discovery Middle School Auditoria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that brings us to administrative reports and recommendations. First up is Finance and Operations with Ms. Minnick.
Thank you, President Christensen. Yes, for you this evening, we have an exciting update on our summer construction projects. Some of these projects went across the school year as well, not just the summer. But we are so very grateful for our community support in our 2020 bond program. We're seeing out those tax dollars at work in so many really exciting ways to improve the educational outcomes and environments for our students that we serve. So with that, I'd like to invite to the podium Brian Guessman from our construction management group, McCarthy and Smith, along with his colleagues Joe Ross and Nick Tinsdale. Welcome. Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. We will start off the summer update. Like Joe had said, some of it was kind of over the summer, some of it was kind of since last year. So we'll start over at Hoban. At Hoban, we had done some underground detention This has since been completed since before school started. There've been some drainage issues happening over there, so this was kind of helped to alleviate some of that. So there's just some photos of the underground system that then gets stoned over and then has dirt over top of it, and grass has been planted at this point. Next was Pioneer. Pioneer had been was completed back in May. There we did some interior work in the life skills room, which included some casework, some new lockers and benches within the locker rooms. The new office addition, these are just some photos of the clinic, both the clinic itself and its bathroom that they have in there. Within the rest of the addition, there's a little counseling area, which is where the old office used to be, so that's the photo on the left. The photo in the middle is just one of the new reception desks in the main office addition. And then the conference room on the right is the southernmost point of that old office, which kind of right across that hallway from the media center. Photo on the left is just an overall outside photo. Part of this project was also new parking lots, so there's just a little photo of that. And that asphalt going basically from the left to the right, that is that new main drop-off loop. Then the photo on the right is the principal's office. East Middle School and West Middle School were packaged together, both of which had renovations this past summer. And then East Middle School also gets an office addition, which will be complete in the spring of next year. Starting at East, within the classrooms, we had taken out the old ceilings and put in new drop ceilings, replaced the lights in, so there's just some photos of the demo and the new work. Within the gymnasium, we got all new backstops around the edge of the gym, as well as 2 new folding backstops for the main basketball court. And then kind of in the photo on the left, not the big red area, but a little bit to the right of that, there's a little bit of red and white. That is a new center divider for if they're doing activities within the gym, they can kind of drop that down in the center and have 2 different activities going on, whether it's badminton, volleyball, that kind of stuff. They can have multiple games going at once. So just kind of helps split up the gym. Within the music and choir room, we got all new casework. Within the library on the left and the cafeteria in the center and on the right, we got new carpeting and vinyl flooring. Within the kitchen, we got new walk-in cooler and freezers. These are some photos of what used to be the main office that had gotten demoed out as part of that new work for the new office addition. But these turn into 3 new offices, so the photo on the right is that area just drywalled and painted. On the outside of the school, we had milled the parking lot, or well, the bus loop that goes around it, and that has been poured back. And then all we have left to do is the main parking lot, which we are leaving for right now. Because of the new addition still happening, we're going to have a lot of trucks and just movement on that. So we're waiting until the end, towards the end, in order to get that replaced. Just some beginning photos of the addition. On the left, there is some excavation for our footings. On the photo on the right, that is our new footings and bolts for our new steel columns. At this point, all of the structural masonry is up, which is kind of what you see here. The steel joists, columns, and decking have all been put on within the last week. So making progress on that one. For West Middle School, so this one we had taken apart the existing office. If you kind of remember, there's the secure vestibule when you walk in, then there was a hallway. So this kind of moves that hallway, as you can see, to the bottom side and kind of moves that main office to the front. Here's just some photos of the media center. We had taken out all the carpeting, put in all new carpeting, new windows. And then the photo on the right is more recent. All the shelves are back, all the books are back. Within the building itself, we had gotten new casework in the life skills room and in the science rooms. Like East Middle School, we had gotten a new walk-in cooler and freezer. Here's just some photos of the office renovation. So the photo on the left, that block-filled area that you see, the dark gray, that's what used to be that main hallway. So that has been since blocked in, and that is the back side of the principal's office now. The photo in the center is just some plumbing work that we had to do in order to move the bathroom with the new floor plan. And then the photo on the right is kind of the beginning of metal stud framing. You can kind of see the metal studs on the ground there for the layout. Some more photos. The photo on the left is reworking some ductwork. Photo in the middle and on the right are the new stud walls. The one on the far right there, that is that new main hallway that is on the back side of the office. There's some photos of drywall being installed. You can kind of see on the right as well some door frames, in-wall electrical and all that. And then here's kind of where we're at now. We have since installed floor carpeting and flooring in these areas, but you can see walls are getting painted, bathrooms are getting tiled, toilet fixtures and bathroom fixtures have all been set at this point too. And then, like East, we did all new parking lots as well. And then the natatorium.
All right, good evening. So this is our bid package HS2, which is the new natatorium and the multi-purpose room. But try that. I'm going too many. So we got an overall picture of the work that we've done. This is looking to the east and the west side of the building. So here we got a lot of the new equipment going in. We got the new scoreboard, new audio visual going up, speakers there. And over the summer, we got all the tile done in the pool and on the deck and in the bathrooms. So I imagine that's a lot of tile work there. Here we can get a view from the stadium seats of the pool. Next view, we got some of the equipment going in. You got your lane markers in and some of the starting blocks. And then we got the diving boards installed on the far end there. Diving harness there as well. We've got the new bathrooms, the sinks, the ADA shower, new hand dryers on the far picture there. I believe this is the women's restroom. And then some more pictures of the showers, restroom stalls, and then another picture of the restroom. You got a counter area over there, suit dryer, and all new tile work was done over the summer in the restrooms as well. Got the new elevator there off in the west stairwell. This middle picture is the new corridor, and that's the glass storefront that separates the existing track around the basketball court from the new corridor, and then just the diving board platforms. And then here was another picture of the corridor with all the acoustical baffles hanging up from the ceiling, and then some photos of the polished concrete in the main corridor. And a little bit of, you can kind of see it up here, some of the new woodwork that's up on the wall. And then we have a new NPR with this project as well, so we got a couple pictures of the new gymnasium with the new floors and set up for basketball, volleyball, and other activities, and all your acoustical baffles in there as well. And just a couple more photos of the outside, looking at the west side of the building and east side of the building. And here we've got some of our top soil going in for all the new hydro seeding and some of the sidewalk going in and the subgrade that we put in the front of that new canopy and the concrete columns around the steel columns. And yeah, that was the auditorium. Next, we've got the HS2A, which is the new band room. So here we've got a picture looking at the that front corner of the band room. As you can see the band room and the new screen wall, which will have, it's hard to see, we got 3 pockets here, which will have some of the dedicated bricks that we have out right now getting names engraved in them. So we'll get those put in place when we get those back. Here we can see some of the foundations for the new walls. Here you got some of the structural brick going up, some of the interior rooms going up, the electrical room. Another picture of the overall work we've got going right now. Here you can see the insulation going on and some of the face brick going on. And then here's an aerial view of that building with the steel joists that are in place. And we do have, there is a roof on now. It's almost 100% done, the roof. And then part of the HS2A package was some new operable partitions in the Salem High School. So it just kind of shows you an overall picture of the stage. And then we've got the new partitions, that's the new track, tucked into those existing pockets. And then these will be the new ones that come off the back of the auditorium that'll tie into the front one so that you'll have 2 separate classrooms. And we're currently working on a schedule to get the, we have to modify all the handrail to accept these new partitions. So that's all in the works as we speak to get that work coordinated. HS3.
So HS3 is Starkweather Academy. This one was also, like Pioneer, completed in May of '24. Here's just some photos of the gymnasium as well as the stage. More photos of the stage and the ramp in that back portion in order to get up there. Photos of the hallways. The photo on the right, if you remember from the original project, there was some STEM room rework. So that is kind of that little hallway area over by the STEM room is that one on the right. Some of the bathrooms in the addition. Coach's office on the left, kind of another photo. The photo on the right, the door on the left is to the hallway. Obviously straight ahead is to the gym. It's kind of 2 ways to get up to that stage. Some photos of the locker room, tile, bathroom fixtures, lockers, benches, toilet partitions. Canton High School.
HS4, P sub 1. This is the new addition and 3rd stadium. Just our rendering of that new addition there. So here we got, once again, we got the footings in the ground and then followed up with some of the structural block. And then on this last picture is the, some of the face brick with the new canopy, and that's going to be the entrance to the new restrooms and locker rooms on that corner. Here we've got, this is the new concession room, and then some of the rough plumbing for the 2 new restrooms. This is the corridor that's going to be the new main entrance going into phase 3. We got the locker rooms and then the storage room that's off the west end of the multipurpose room. This will be the new ticket counter in that front corner, and then we got some of the metal decking showing there on that lower roof, and then we got the roofing on top of the NPR on that last slide. Some more of the rough plumbing for, I'm not sure which room that is, but a lot of plumbing going in for all these restrooms and locker rooms. And then some of the interior walls going up. And then this last photo, we've got a lot of the face brick going up with the framing for the new decorative metal panels that go around the top of the new addition. And then part of this project is a new 3rd stadium, and that's just an overview of where we are. Actually, we're beyond that now. And so here's some of the pictures of That's the new detention area on that first one, some of the underground drainage for the new field. And the same thing here, a lot of drainage for this field. Collects a lot of water, so we gotta get rid of it. And then these are a couple pictures of the start of summer and then where we are at the end of summer. And actually at this point, that whole field's got all the stone in place and all the drainage done. So they're really coming along in that field. So it's got so the tennis courts, we actually just started demo on that on Monday. So if you go by there, you'll see it's fenced in. We got a lot of material on site, and they are removing fence posts, and we'll start removing the concrete here real soon. And then touch base on the innovation hub.
And then last but not least on the list is the Canton Innovation Hub and robotics. So currently, and it has been a theme of sorts, is we're waiting on final Wayne County approval to give us the final green light. So we are really poised. As soon as we get the green light, within a couple weeks, we can mobilize. In the process, we're procuring all the materials that we can procure. So as soon as we get the green light from those folks, we do meet weekly with the civil engineers and discussions with Wayne County to try and get this thing wrapped up so we can keep moving. And that's all we got.
All right, thank you. Quite a bit of work going on in our district. I'm going to open it up to any commentary or questions from our fellow board members. Actually, I'll start with Sai, our student co-chair.
I have no questions, but I think that all the construction and renovations look great. Thank you.
Member Sidhu?
Thank you. Great updates. Very exciting to see all of the great things that are happening within our district. A couple of questions. One is everything projected to be completed within the time frame? I know Starkweather's already done, but the other projects?
The short answer is probably no, right? So when we brought forth, the ones that I specific want to talk about is going to be the new stadium. The tennis courts are two of the probably most recent ones. Our original intent was to have that stadium pretty much ready to roll come this fall. That's where this Wayne County thing came up. So as we may recall, we had to come back to the board for a drain easement that was drafted on behalf of Wayne County. So it ultimately became like an 8-month delay on getting that final approval. The good news is we were able to actually start on the addition work, which is why you see, once we brought this concept initially, my concern was we were going to actually have the stadium done before the addition was going to be able to complete. And it's actually vice versa, because the state of Michigan handles the building additions, but Wayne County ultimately is responsible for the utilities. That really put a wrench in the system when it comes to getting that thing started. So our main goal right now is, as Mr. Ross had identified, we're hopeful to start actually turfing that field as early as beginning part of next week. Your guess is going to be as good as mine when it comes to weather. So there are some issues when it comes to topping. They're weather dependent. So we fully anticipate, and we kind of identified it in some of these slides, that there's going to be some spring work that's associated with that field. But my hope is that before winter hits, we can get that field pretty much play ready before winter hits. So come spring, we can coordinate with the district and still wrap up some of the items that are weather dependent, but still be able to have a fully functioning field to help relieve some of the stressors and congestion that is maybe currently being dealt with. And then likewise, so Innovation Hub is kind of wrapped up in that, as well as tennis courts. Tennis courts, when we bid that out initially, we knew Wayne County, and that was going to be a problem, so we actually offered up an alternate that came in that we really don't want to go with, which essentially is doing everything next year. So by the time all of our permits came through, it's still financially responsible to start this, so it's a alleviated cost for the most part that we don't have to deal with. We don't have to pay the freight for the next year's work, but also minimize as much impact on next year's season as humanly possible, knowing that this season was certainly impacted. So we want to capitalize on that work and that shutdown that's already taken place, so we can minimize, and we're hopeful come spring, early part of spring, we can get that wrapped up to minimize any tennis court or tennis team issues.
My second question is, how are you gathering student and staff feedback along the way? I see some beautiful facilities happening inside and great work happening outside. So how are you working with students and staff to get input for those things?
So that definitely starts early on. And so we work alongside with TMP Architecture, who leads or spearheads the design aspect of it, but we meet weekly with the bond steering committee, and as those designs okay, we're working on, Farron next. So now we reach out to the building principal. Let's find some stakeholders. Sometimes they're students, sometimes they're parents, sometimes they're other vested interest folks. And through that design process, we meet with those folks. Sometimes they have some color input. Sometimes it's just a functionality input that, again, pays dividends when it comes to delivering a project that is functional for the building.
Great. I want to thank everyone that's been part of this process, giving input and being involved. So great. Thank you.
Actually, Anupam asked my question about dates and times, so I'll skip that. But I wanted to thank you. It's been a great job. I know I pass Pioneer quite frequently, and that new interest really pops. So.
And we'd be remiss not to thank the building stakeholders that we work with, because it is a frustration on a good day, right? Construction's fun when it starts and when it ends, and everything in the middle is nothing but pain, unfortunately. Yeah. So we appreciate working with the buildings and some of the principals and assistant principals we're here today that we appreciate working with to help keep the flow going and ultimately get us complete.
All right. So thank you for all your work, and thank you to the community for supporting all of this work.
Brian, thank you for all the stuff. We talked about this project extensively at F&O, and I really appreciate you bringing up the issues that we've had with delays in permitting and getting started with this. And we discussed it at F&O that we need to do a better job as a district in communicating some of those delays, because we've had community stakeholders see the starts and stops that happen with this, and they don't necessarily understand some of the issues that we've had. So I think that we'll be able to incorporate that as we go forward in these projects and provide more context for people as to why something didn't move quite as quickly as we'd like. I did have a couple questions on terms of the dates. The partitions, my understanding is the only thing that's left is the handrails, but it's got an early 2025 date.
Well, so the short answer is yes, but the longer answer is the handrail work is extensive. So once we pull that handrail down, it renders that auditorium useless. So I do speak with Mr. Bird about every other day. So we are ducking and diving and dodging basically the activities that are going on. So that way we're not interfering with the activities that are currently taking place. So right now our deal was, let's get at least the panels up, so that way all the activities, we actually got an updated schedule from Paul today. So we're hedging our bet on what the available time slot, so we don't impact any scheduled events.
So it's more about coordination of the time that you can do the work than, and I know that there's a lot of work, but it doesn't take 4 months to do the work. It's just you need to find the time when the auditorium isn't in use so that you don't disrupt those activities.
Correct, and turns out there is not a whole lot of dead time, so to speak, at the auditorium.
Understand, okay. And then the last question I had is with respect to the turf field. I know that we had coordinated both the new stadium as well as the East turf field replacement. Were we able to proceed with the East turf field replacement while we were having the delays with the new stadium?
So when you say replacement there, I think there are two things going on. As part of
West turf field.
So
sorry.
the one nearest
JV.
Plymouth, whatever we want to call it, that
JV one.
that field was replaced. Now,
Okay.
as part of this project, there's also some logo work on the varsity field that is part and parcel of that I
Okay.
don't believe has been fully completed, but will be completed as part of this project. But the field, it was an insurance item that I think one of the facility predecessors had completed over the summer and has been in use.
Okay, great. So, because I know originally we had looked at coordinating those two things at the same time and some of the logos at the same time, and the delays that we had in the new stadium didn't interrupt any of
No,
that.
so yeah, that field is completely done, but on the, I'll call it the varsity field for lack of a term, I think there's probably still a logo that may need to be changed and is part of this project. And now that the turf installers are on site and hopefully starting turf next week, that's something that we're going to try and get executed here yet before snow starts flying.
Perfect, and thank you. I'd echo my fellow board members in thanking all the stakeholders for all their work in getting this done and moving these projects forward. I know there's a lot of moving parts for these things, and thank you for everybody in the things that are happening.
Vice President McCoy.
Thank you. Lovely work. I'm really excited about Starkweather because now it really looks like a high school for those students as opposed to a kind of repurposed elementary school. I would like to remind the community, because I have to every time we do this, is that the increased athletic facilities are also to help support middle school athletics because the district lost a track and a pool when Central was closed and sold. And the middle school principals were very collaborative during the bond process in not fighting to have one at their schools. So just keep in mind that, you know, the whole community, that the field and the pool is also to help support our middle school athletes. But thank you so much. These are beautiful improvements to our district. And thank you to the community for supporting them through our bond.
Okay. Member Picard?
Well, I just thank you. It was nice seeing it again. We saw it during F&O, and thank you for your presentation and just for all the work you guys have been doing and keeping track of. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone.
Madam President, I have one question that is not for them particularly, but perhaps we could do a follow-up in board notes.
Sure.
Given that there's so much interest with the updates and with the community wanting to know what's happening, on our website, when I look at Bond 2020 upgrades by school district, it hasn't been updated in a while. I'm wondering if that could be something that we look into. So if I wanted to go to Starkweather, I could actually see the updates and finished timeline. So people aren't wondering when is that going to be finished.
Sure. Thanks. Okay, thank you very much. All right. We are on to the next item on the list. We have consider approval of a resolution for a custodial contract renewal with ABM Industries. This is a first reading. I know Ms. Minnick stepped away. Do you want to provide some context, Treasurer Kehoe?
Yeah, I can provide some context while we're waiting for Ms. Minnick. We have our contract that is up right now with ABM, and we're considering a 2-year renewal with them as part of this process. We've made some good progress in working with ABM over the last years of the contract, and it's really taken a bit of time as we've kind of streamlined those activities. But there is still some more work that needs to be done. So throughout our F&O committees, throughout these meetings, we've always had a lot of frank conversations with our team at ABM and how we can do a better job with clean. And in particular, this contract and this extension is designed to address some of those issues. So, Jill, if you want to keep going, and then you can correct me if I missed anything.
Thank you.
One of the things that we're doing is we're looking to put in 3 additional custodians during the day at the high schools, at the traditional high schools. And that's really to alleviate some of the struggles that we have in keeping those bathrooms clean. The custodial staff that is there during the day is having a large amount of work that they're doing in supporting the lunch changeover as they do each of those lunch periods, and being able to do the cleanup and get ready for that process. And that's oftentimes left those bathrooms not as well attended as we would like. And as we've looked at the data, what we've seen is that the bathrooms are great coming in the morning. It's the overnight custodial teams do a great job of keeping them clean, but throughout the day with 6,000 students, they end up being not so good. And so this was an opportunity for us to bring in some more resources to try to address that issue. So that's one of the big changes as part of this contract. In addition, the contract does include an increase in wages, 2% the first year and 1.5% the second year. The cost to the district is 2.5% for that first year and 1.5% for the second year. We also have a small savings that occur through discontinuation of some COVID hiring incentives. We've really had a pretty good time of hiring the staff. We have full employment based upon the number of FTEs that the base contract requires, but we've not yet hit the targets that we want with the absentee resources that ABM is committed to. So that's one of the areas that we're working with them on to make sure that they have those additional resources to provide that cushion in the event that you have people that are out and not having to rely upon overtime and other things, which end up oftentimes burning people out in that process. So this was what was discussed at F&O. Ms. Minnick, did I represent that properly?
It did very well, thank you.
Okay.
I apologize for stepping out of it.
No problem.
Thank you.
So this is for our consideration. This would be a 2-year extension to the existing contract. This would give us a chance to evaluate the work that they've done and also the the additional improvements that we want to see. We have seen a changeover in the leadership at ABM within the district, and we're actually quite excited about that. We're seeing some better collaboration between all of the teams and some better supervision that occurs throughout the cleaning process. And the feedback that we've received is that our summer clean was one of the best summer cleans that we've done. So we're happy with our partnership, but we are holding them accountable as we go through this process.
Thank you.
This is a general fund item. The 2-year optional renewal will be fully funded by the general fund at a total increase over the current contract of $468,950.
And this had been budgeted for in our budget, so this isn't an unanticipated expense.
Right, thank you for that thorough background. I will start with our student co-chair, Ms. Pawar. Any questions or comments?
As a student at the high schools, I agree with what was said about them starting off very clean and then progressively getting a little dirtier throughout the day. So I do think it would be very beneficial to add 3 full-time custodial positions at high school, like mentioned in the proposal.
Thank you. Member Sadoo?
Thank you. Just want to get clarity. So in the F&O meetings, are you looking at key performance indicators to see that there has been change for the better?
Yeah, I mean, we have key performance indicators that we get as part of our regular process that comes through the custodio, and we examine those things. And what we see consistently is that by the metrics of how we measure them, you know, at the beginning of the day, they're doing a good job with the clean. But we dove into that pretty deeply because the feedback that we hear from the community and from our survey data shows that, especially during the day, especially at the high schools, it's not good. And so this was a lot of brainstorming went on with our operations teams, with our plant engineers, with ABM to say what could be done to address this. And one of the things that was clear was there wasn't enough staff that was there during the day to try to keep up with the clean. And that's where this particular thing has come up.
Great, thank you.
Secretary Westra?
Just want to appreciate all of the work that went into this. I can imagine trying to keep bathrooms clean with basically a convention center going through there every day is a struggle. So thank you for all of this work.
I think I'm going
I just
to
wanted
provide
to
a
give
lot
you a
of
moment.
feedback. Thank you.
Sure. Vice President McQueen?
So, do you feel like with this contract extension that there will be a significant improvement in the clean? Because we hear time and time again about how filthy the buildings are. I mean, it's an ongoing complaint.
So thank you for that question. I appreciate that. We have seen some significant improvements even over the past, I'd say 3 to 4 months. We have a new general manager at the helm. We were sorry to see the former one leave, yet just in the short time that she's been with us, we've seen some real leadership qualities and accountability there that I believe is an improvement. We continue to not only monitor those KPIs, but we're meeting more frequently to address improving that performance that may be demonstrated in a KPI. So we're taking active steps to partner with our business partner to be sure that we're removing any barriers, that there are things on our end that maybe we could be doing differently to allow more thorough or deeper cleaning to occur. And in hearing from them as well what their challenges are at the building level, we're engaging more frequently with them. And so in that way, troubleshooting and partnering together around those solutions.
Ms. Minnick, we also put in place a new unified reporting system, didn't we, at the beginning of this year, that replaced the school dude system?
Yes, we have a new work order system called Master Library. So that allows for a bit more internal communication in that system. We're monitoring outcomes and completion data, those kinds of things as well. So I'm eager to see some of the new reporting that's available through that system as well.
And so that system is used by our custodial teams as well as by our plant engineers. So it's a unified system. We avoid some of the disconnects that we saw with with the multiple different systems that we had before.
And with that system, staff can report issues, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
What Member Kehoe may have been referring to is we previously had a separate Google
Yeah.
type of reporting mechanism, and so all that is inherent in one system now.
Great. Member Picard?
Nope, I was just writing that down. No, I pretty much was at the meeting, so I have no more questions on anything. So.
Yep, and just for clarification too, looking at the renewal, this is for 2 years, so starting July 24 all the way through 2026, correct?
Correct, yes. Thank you.
All right. All right, no more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we are on to action item number 25-09-11. This is considered approval of a resolution to purchase a GMC Terrain SUV for the Safety and Security Department. This is a final reading. Can I please have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we consider approval of a resolution to purchase a GMC Terrain SUV for Safety and Security Department. Final reading, action item 250911.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Treasurer Kehoe and seconded by Secretary Westra. We did talk about this at our last meeting. Are there any additional questions or comments about this? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. Those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, on to action item number 25-09-12. Consider approval of a resolution for building entry intercom system replacements. This is also a final reading. Can I please have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we consider approval of a resolution for building entry intercom system replacements. This is a final reading, action item 250912.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it was moved by Treasurer Kehoe and seconded by Member Picard. Again, we talked about this at the last meeting. Do we have any additional questions or comments around this? Okay. Those in favor, please say yes.
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 Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, we are on to action item number 25-09-13. Consider approval of a resolution for the purchase of additional building access control points. This is also a final reading. Can I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we consider approval of a resolution for the purchase of additional building access control points. Final reading, action item 250913.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Treasurer Kehoe and seconded by Secretary Westra. Again, we talked about this at last meeting. Any other follow-up questions or commentary around this item? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. Those in favor, please say yes.
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 Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. There's more. Okay, so we have action item number 25-09-14. Consider approval of a resolution for the purchase of two am I saying this right? Avigilon AVR servers. Thanks. This is a final reading. Can I have a
Madam President, I move that we consider approval of a resolution for the purchase of two Avigilon AVR servers. Final reading, action item 250914.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Treasurer Kehoe and seconded by Secretary Westra. Any questions or comments? No? Okay, those in favor, please say yes.
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 Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, action item number 25-09-15. Consider approval of a resolution to purchase electronic building signs. This is also a final reading. Can I have a motion?
Madam President, can I move that we consider approval of a resolution to purchase electronic building signs? This will be a final reading, action item 250915.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Treasurer Kehoe and seconded by Member Sadoo. Any questions or comments on this action item?
I believe that we made an adjustment from when we first brought this forward. This was originally, I'm sorry, Ms. Minnick, can you remind us of the schools that this is going to?
Certainly, thank you. These two electronic signs, one will be going to West Middle School, the other to Bentley Elementary School. We had originally proposed just two signs. We were waiting to see if the Bentley sign could be repaired. We gave it a good go, but it was not able to be repaired. So that second sign will be directed to Bentley.
I'm sorry, did you say West Middle School? And
No.
she said East.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did say
East
west.
and-
East.
East and Bentley.
Yeah, it's East and Bentley. I thought you
Yes.
maybe said West, though. And
I
West is the one that
apologize.
we don't need.
I do have a question though. So I noticed when I was driving past Gallimore that they still have one of the old signs that are manual. Are we planning to replace that at some point?
Yes. So as those buildings come up through the bond cycle, that's when that would be replaced. We are contemplating maybe a different timing, but currently we're on the cadence of replacing that as the building comes up.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, call for the vote. Those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, now we're on to teaching and learning with Ms. Rail.
Thank you, President Christensen. Tonight for your consideration is the first read of a multicultural literature course materials whole class novel. We talked about this extensively at SPA. The whole class novel that the team is bringing forward is called Clap When You Land. It is a first semester whole class text, if approved. Just a little bit of history and context around multicultural literature. This is a course that was implemented and launched in the 23-24 school year. It is a full year ELA course for 11th and 12th graders. You'll remember we have multiple different options for 11th and 12th grade ELA. This text explores various cultures, reflecting distinct voices but shared experiences in this course. So throughout the course, students study Native American, Latin American, African American, Asian American, Middle Eastern American, and students' own cultures. This text is a novel in verse that explores the lives of two sisters who have grown up in different countries, unaware that each other exists. So they come together through the death of their father. They learn about they share the same father. They learn about each other through the death of their father, and it is really about their experiences together, the process of difficulty of learning about forgiveness and forming a bond despite their differences, so coming together from two different cultures. Implementing this class, or this text, is kind of an interesting one because we currently already own this text. It is a choice book in our book room. We have plenty of copies for this text, so there would be no additional cost to this. It's just the approval of actually implementing this as a whole class text. A question that arose in SPA that I figured I'd answer here rather than a follow-up in board notes is there are 12 sections of this course currently running at PCCS. So with that, I'll just open up for any questions you might have.
All right, Ms. Pilar, do you have any questions?
I have no questions, but I think the novel would be great, especially since we already have it. Thank you.
Member Sadoo?
No, this was discussed in SPA, and the members, the community members that sit on that committee raved about the book, and others that had read it had great things to say. So I got a book that I will now read.
I'll just echo what Member Sadoo said. I think everybody that was in attendance that day raved about it that had read it, and those of us that hadn't read it added it to their reading list. So.
Something else to add to my reading list. Thank you.
So you have enough copies of this book?
That's correct. There are currently enough copies in the book room. And also, I neglected to say, too, if any of the board members would like a copy to read between now and the second read, you're welcome to getting a copy, too, and just let us know, and I'll leave a copy with Ms. Robertson.
That's in 2 weeks.
We can give you the clip notes as well, so.
It's a book in verse.
Yes.
It's a book in verse. You can do it.
Member Picard?
Yeah, I would just like to get a copy.
Sure, certainly.
So I do have a question.
Yes.
Did we have a different novel for the 23-24 year? Is this in replacement of a novel, or is this a new addition
Yep.
to the course?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. The committee who developed this course and the team that developed the course actually didn't bring forward a whole class novel at that time.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to kind of take some time, read some of the novels for the course, and then because many of them were used as choice books, and kind of get some feedback from students and determine which one they would like to use as a whole class anchor novel. So that's what then brought it forward at this time. So
Okay.
thank you.
Great, thank you very much. right, that concludes that section. We're on to citizens' comments. And I have a stack over here. Okay, first we have Lisa Capatina.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Capatina. I have often heard this board say, we see you and we hear you and we want to engage this community. With all due respect, I'm at a loss to understand to whom it is you are speaking because many decisions are in conflict that suggests it's not your students, the parents, nor our community. 2 weeks ago, we heard you now want to engage the community in supporting our high schools with a new policy. Yet last year during Canton Chief discussions, a board member was quoted saying, a substantial majority wanted to retain the chief's name, but it's the minority that I'm paying attention to. I have brought to you nutritional concerns about meals being fed to students, regardless of need, through a $200 million budget. Thankfully, your new hire appears to have made some positive changes. But I understand current policy does not allow students to just take healthy options. Instead, they must take the entire meal, and a lot of that gets thrown out. Instead, they take the entire, and the Canton Township Supervisor just recently stated the landfill is expanding, and you could see it at the schools as students throw out so much food. I ask, who and what are you seeing? I see wasted dollars that could fund more healthy food, teacher salaries, and school safety. Which brings me to K through second grade, pulled out of class to ask if they feel happy and safe at school. I challenge you to see, as evidenced by Michigan ranking 43rd for literacy and 35th for math, that perhaps your students need more academic instruction. Increased literacy can actually open the doors to their happiness. Then there are students that respectfully sat during the last meeting to talk to you about their sadness losing school programs. After some waited 2 hours respectfully listening to you, they were told they could not speak. You said you see them, hear them, and ask if they are happy, but you had to be admonished to let them have their voice. Lastly, there is the rescinding of policy 2410 that disallows any school employee the ability to refer or assist a student with abortion. Let me be clear, this is not pro-abortion or anti-abortion stance. The language of Prop 3 says the state could not penalize, prosecute, or otherwise take adverse action against someone for doing so with voluntary consent. The state is a separate authority from you, and you currently have policies outside state law. So I ask, who are you seeing and hearing by completely rescinding this policy? It begs you consider the question, under what age did this board believe students can give voluntary consent to your employees for medical decisions without their parents' consent? Thank you.
Okay, up next we have Rijvana Patel.
Good evening, dear members of school board and citizens. My name is Rijvana Patel, and I am a parent of 2 autistic boys who are currently enrolled at Bentley Elementary School. Today, I would like to request the installation of fencing at Bentley Elementary School and ideally at all elementary and middle school within a Plymouth Canton School District. Since moving to Canton Public School District this year, both of my boys have begun attending Bentley Elementary. I have observed that the playground at Bentley, as well as many other schools in the district, are not fenced in. Ensuring the safety of our students should be our top priority, particularly for our youngest and most vulnerable children, the ones that are special need in Mike High or ASD classrooms. I am most concerned about my younger son. He is 5 years old and at risk of eloping because he has autism. and is not aware of his own safety. He has tendency to wander around. While staff are monitoring the children, Bilal does not receive one-on-one supervision, which increases his risk of wandering off. At home, we watch him closely, and I worry about his safety during outside play time at school without one-on-one supervision. The addition of fencing would create a secure environment, limiting access to school grounds and ensuring that children can play and learn safely. Here are a few key points to support this request. Enhanced security. Fencing offers a layer of security for all students, particularly in today's environment, by preventing unauthorized access and reducing potential safety hazards. Improved monitoring. A defined perimeter allows staff to more effectively supervise students' activities, and especially during recess and outdoor activities. Community support. I believe many of the parents of this community members would support this initiative, as it is demonstrated for our collaborative commitment to the safety and well-being of our children. Long-term benefit. Investing in fencing is not merely a short-term solution, it is establish a lasting framework for safety that will benefit future of generations of our students. All of the above key points also align with one of the performance goals discussed by Superintendent Dr. Merritt, which is student and staff safety and well-being in her goals for 2024-2025. That was discussed in last meeting. Thank you for your Thank you for considering this important request for our children's safety. I would like to email this request for you to have for your reference and to discuss a grant approval for fencing at Bentley Elementary that has special need young kids. Sincerely, Rijwana. Thank you so much.
Okay, up next is Jennifer Voss.
I loved seeing the pictures of the facilities that are being completed, especially the pool at Plymouth. I've had swimmers at Plymouth since 2009, and actually my daughter is not quite home yet from dive because we get the poorest time slots because we don't have our own pool, and so I am really excited about that pool. But all of the things that are being upgraded and updated. But what I would ask is that we keep it looking as amazing as it looks in those pictures. I'm concerned about the ABM continuing for 2 more years. We might want to reconsider paying them more because they're not cleaning the way that the kids deserve or need to have facilities clean. I know that my children do not like to use the bathrooms at school because they are so dirty. But I really think that, do we need to evaluate it again, or do we need to look for something else? Also, I am wondering if the board is aware that playground time has been, or recess has been reduced at some of the elementary schools by 10 minutes. I know this sounds like not a lot of time, but the kids notice, my child has noticed, and families were not given any notice about this. It's not been discussed, it just has happened. I believe that the children need their full recess time, and that this should be discussed and changed back. And then I also wanted to comment on what you're going to talk about next, the goals. The one goal, that all students have what they need to be successful and feel safe, respected, valued, and represented. I'm concerned about the family that came and spoke a few weeks ago about their son being bullied by a volunteer Salem wrestling coach. I've talked to them several times and nothing is being done. He's continuing to be bullied and he does not feel safe, respected, or valued. I think that there needs to be follow-up for this family and this child. Thank you.
Okay, up next is Steve Gentilia.
All right, good evening. Been coming to these meetings for about a year now. Starting to see a little bit of change, but it's still not what the kids deserve. Good to see the Spirit Committee was formed last week. But here's what's going to happen, and what I think is going to happen, and what other people in the community think is going to happen. It's just going to be a push down the road. We were told in the meeting last week, oh, it's going to be a 2 or 3 year process before we can institute this. Okay, then let's break it in chunks and make it faster. If we're going to do the Spirit Committee, assign a field to the high schools. They shouldn't all have each other's logos on the fields. How are those going to be taken care of? You got a $13 million new stadium being built with nobody taking assignment of who's in charge of it, except maintenance, and we know how that goes. If you assign those fields just like you're assigning a pool, Plymouth's pool, Salem's pool, Canton's pool, those kids have ownership. If we don't assign the football fields, who has ownership? How can they take spirit in those fields if they can't decorate them? They can't make them theirs. It's important to athletes to know they have a home. These kids feel like they don't have a home. I was at volleyball tonight before I got here in the Canton gym. You've got Cobras on the floor. You've got chief paraphernalia all around the gym still. Why? It's been a year in the making. Just take it down. Just take it down. The kids are confused. Teams come in from other school districts and they say, wow, what are you? Are you Chiefs or are you Cobras? What are you? The kids are confused. Teams come in from other districts. I witnessed it in the parking lot, Salem parking lot. It's like driving through downtown. There's potholes everywhere. You can't drive through the Salem parking lot without risking your car's tires and undercarriage, unless you know exactly where you're going. And it's a joke, but it's not right. Parents joke about it. Oh, I take this way, it's a zigzag. I know where I'm going. But the people from other communities come in and they laugh at us because this is what our facilities look like. Yes, things are improving slowly, but we need to make sure that they continue to improve and fix what we can fix now. The wall, there's that wall that we've talked about for a year now at the varsity stadium that is in front of the concession stand. For one thing, that's a safety issue because you've got kids who can hide behind the wall and who can see what's going on there. No one can see what's going on. If you have people who want to go to the concession stand and still try and watch a game, they can't see what's going on because the wall is in the way. Take it down. We can get 50 parents and sledgehammers in the football team to tear it down. It's not an issue. And trust in your kids. The Spirit Committee is great, but they need to have ownership of what they have so that their spirit can continue to grow. Thank you.
Okay, up next is Natalie Sharp.
Hello, my name's Natalie Sharp. I'm a P-CCS grad, former P-CCS employee and current EduStaff employee where I sub with all the schools in the building, or in the district. I've been to every single building. So last board meeting, I spoke about the issue that I think that more students should be biking and walking to schools. I introduced the idea and I introduced the benefits of it. And now I'm going to talk about actionable items that I think our district could do to promote that. And so the actionable item that I bring to you today is bike racks. More of them, better locations, and all that. So certain schools that don't have bike racks, and I think they should be added. Allen Elementary School. Now I know it is preschoolers, but I personally rode there as a staff, and I knew that some of the schools I saw young fives and kindergartens ride their bikes with their parents, so I don't think it would be crazy to have a bike rack there, even if it's a small one. Starkweather does not have a bike rack, and I actually saw a few students walking to school on the side of the road, so if they can walk, maybe there'd be some interest with biking. Erickson did not have an actual bike rack. It just had like a cement thing and you couldn't lock your bikes to it. So I ended up locking my bike to a fence. This was last school year, so I don't know if it's changed. And Canton High School does not have a bike rack to my knowledge. There's one at Salem and there's one at Plymouth, but I don't believe there's one at Canton. And so I think those schools should be added bike racks. You guys have a storage facility. I know they put different things in storage, so there might even already be bike racks in storage somewhere in the district, so it might not even cost any money. The one at Gallimore is in a bad location. It is underneath the basketball hoop on the playground where the kids play, and it's not near the student drop-off or the staff entrance. So I ended up parking my bike on the fence and still had to walk around the whole building because I didn't feel safe putting my bike underneath a basketball hoop where kids are playing. The one at Discovery is kind of off to the side, and I thought there should be a sign mentioning where it is or just better knowledge. And finally, I think all staff in key positions like office secretaries or principals should get 30 seconds of training and just know where the bike rack is, because a few buildings I've came in and I've asked where the bike rack is, and sometimes the principals or staff couldn't even tell me. So I think that is very easy. 30 seconds, it's not like some whole professional development. You just point out where the bike rack is. Principal, all teachers, anybody who's important on staff should just know where it is so they can direct students and staff to it. So those are my concerns today. I'm going to be continuing to come to other board meetings to bring actionable things that our district can do to promote more biking and walking to school that won't cost a lot of money, time, or effort. And you can continue to research the impact and the benefits of biking and walking to school, because if you do a quick Google search, you will see it is great benefits. Lots of schools in the country have implemented more biking and walking, and they found dramatic decreases in suspensions and discipline issues and happiness and all kinds of things that I think our schools would stand for. And this is something that we don't need to spend millions of dollars on or do a lot. The students can just do it themselves by biking and walking to school more if it's safe and if they feel comfortable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for everyone who spoke during citizens' comments. That concludes that section. We are on to action items and discussion. First up is action item number 2509-16. Consider approval of a resolution to adopt the 2024-2025 superintendent goals. This is a first and final reading. We spoke about this and finalized these last meeting. Do we have any other questions or commentary around these superintendent goals? No? Okay. Can I, oh, I'm sorry, I should have asked for a motion. Yeah.
Madam President, I move that we consider approval of a resolution to adopt the 2024-2025 superintendent goals. This will be a first and final reading, and the action item will be 2509-16.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so it was moved by Treasurer Kehoe and seconded by Member Sadoo. I spoke out of turn, I apologize. But now I will open it up to any conversation or questions from the team. No? Okay, hearing none, I am going to call for the vote. Those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries 6-0. Okay, on to action item number 2509-17. Consider approval of a resolution to adopt the 2024-2025 Board of Education goals. And again, this is a first and final reading. Can we have a motion, please?
Madam President, I move that we consider approval of a resolution to adopt the 2024-2025 Board of Education goals. First and final reading, action item 2509-17.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Treasurer Kehoe and seconded by Secretary Westra. Any questions, comments?
I have a comment.
Sure.
I just wanted to say, like, for the record, before I vote on these goals, I just wanted to state that my acceptance of these goals is solely on the goals by themselves and not under according to the DEI theme that we have stated in our district's dynamic plan, which was established before I was voted in. I think that segregating kids into subgroups based on their skin color for making decisions is racism. You can have equal opportunities for kids by including extra help for all those kids with all the special things that they need. This is usually the goal of teachers and has been. To expect an equitable outcome is really impossible if diversity and freedom is truly desired and valued. Each person is unique with their different abilities, values, and the amount of effort they choose to put forth. Equitable outcomes require conformity, not diversity, and a lot of it is relying upon a student's effort, and sometimes they choose not to put that forth. During my first board meeting, I was asked to sign the board operating principles, and I did not sign it because of the supporting equitable outcomes. I went into depth explaining that, and using my 4 children as an example, and that they all came out different. It seems that, and I was told that it was the same thing, but it seems to be kind of confusing when you talk about equal opportunities, equitable outcomes. Those are quite different. So when everybody has to be the same, we are no longer free. I think that we should just focus on making sure each child develops. I think that it's hard to have a standard to even measure an equitable outcome. I mean, how do you measure that? You say, well, I mean, usually we have, tests and things that show that kids are achieving something. When we start to just move that along and change it and say, well, this person should get a C, and for that person, this person's going to get an A because they did this, it kind of takes away from what some people actually achieve, and some people have to give up things for that. So I think we need to focus on what jobs want. What does it take to be in this career, and go by what the standards they have, and help our kids to either choose what they want to do and then maybe get there. So I just wanted to make that clear. I think we have some good goals, but I don't personally see that as always directing it towards that theme. So I just wanted to share that before I vote.
Okay.
So,
Any other comments or questions from the team? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Those in favor, please say yes.
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 Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, on to action item number 25-09-18. Consider approval of a resolution to adopt policy number 2410, rescind prohibition of referral or assistance. This is a final reading. Again, this was pulled from the consent agenda for this meeting as well as our last meeting. We had some discussion here. Oh, I'm speaking out of turn again. I'm so sorry,
Madam
guys.
Madam President, I move that
No,
we consider approval of a resolution to adopt policy 2410, which will rescind the prohibition of referral or assistance. This is the final reading. The action item is 250918.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so it was moved by Treasurer Kehoe and seconded by Vice President McCoyne. Again, I will speak in turn now. We did discuss this at our last meeting, and now this is obviously a final reading. Do we have any additional questions or comments around this particular item?
nobody is, so I'll say something.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make the parents aware that the barrier from this policy to protect the rights of parents by prohibiting staff from referring a student for an abortion or assisting a student in obtaining abortion will no longer exist at P-CCS on this issue. Even though the law requirement has been eliminated, our district still has the capability to revise this policy as they've done on many other policies that have come before this board. It appears that the policy committee has chosen to disregard the whole policy instead of revising it to uphold the law that still exists to protect the parents' rights, which is, it is the natural fundamental rights of parents and legal guardians to determine and direct the care, teaching, and education of their children. The public schools of this issue serve the needs of the pupils by cooperating with the pupils' parents and legal guardians to develop the pupils' intellectual capabilities and vocational skills in a safe and positive environment. And that is also up on our wall. So I just wanted to think that that is also an important law that needs to be upheld. And so just wanted to make people aware.
Again, this policy is being rescinded because the original law that it related to, that we passed in September of 2017, has been repealed. The entire policy was put into place as a new policy as a requirement of a state law that has been repealed. So the policy relates to a state law that is now gone. Teachers and staff members do not prescribe medical treatment to children. Children require parental permission for treatment.
Then, can I say something on that then? Then why do we have the policy that they can at least, I mean, for the other policy on transgender and then having parents not tell, or teachers not tell parents that these things are happening?
Is that discussing medical treatment?
That is medical, yeah, that would be. If a child is going to transition and take drugs, yeah, that's all medical.
Mr. Bidun, can you provide some context too around the policy, please?
Yes, Again, it was Neola, and I spoke to a Neola person about this in particular because I knew this when it came up, it was going to be something of controversy, and it's good we're having a good, robust conversation about
I'm
it.
sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you?
I always do for some reason in this thing.
Maybe it's not.
Am I too close or too far? Is this one better?
Yeah.
Oh,
Much better.
there you go. It's fixed. The policy itself was just created from what Neola told us, specifically because that law passed back in 2015, 16, or whenever it passed. And so the repeal of it, yes, you could leave it. You could. There have some districts, particularly I believe Caledonia has decided to keep their policy in place. But the policy would be in place with no bite or anything to it. It would just be some words on paper, because that one's specifically saying that if they did that piece, that we would there would be disciplinary action. We couldn't do any disciplinary action if the law is gone that enforces it. So that's kind of the reason why why Neola was recommending us to repeal it, because it would just be words and it'll be a policy that we'd have on paper that means nothing for us.
But then how do we have policies that aren't laws that we can discipline teachers for other things then? Because I still think we could have a requirement that we don't want our teachers to do that. And if they do, they could have a disciplinary action, just like any other thing, like that we have in our schools.
It would. I think the difference would be with right now how it's written right now. There was a law that said that they did this, then we can discipline them. Now, go ahead.
So the original law, the way it was written, and we had a lot of conversation with legal counsel, and at the time law was also put into effect, we had one of the members of the policy committee was also an attorney. It's the way the statute was written, it did not differentiate between an employee or contractor of the district in their role as an employee or contractor of the district and in their role outside of their employment or contractor. So the legal opinion we kind of got from that was that it was really unenforceable if it was brought against somebody in a capacity outside of employment, and within a school, that is still not something that happens, because school personnel do not do those things.
Are you sure? Do you, How would you be
I'm
sure
sorry,
that they wouldn't?
if you have actual incidences of that, then you need to bring it to Dr. Merritt.
But what harm would there be to have something that would state that, just to make people be aware that is, I mean, we've had many policies come to us that had things crossed off. We had them rewritten or redlined, and then the green line of the new statements, and so we changed the policy, although it was the same subject matter, but we've changed things. So I don't understand why that couldn't still be something that would be considered, that this is something we don't do as a school, but we do allow it in another policy to not tell parents about things.
So the discussion is getting rid of this policy that was totally written to relate to a state law that's been repealed.
Right, but we could still change it to make it a policy. I just believe we still could. I mean, basically I'm just making parents aware that that policy is gone, so if you have daughters, beware.
So, can I speak a minute, please?
Yeah.
So I have children that went to the nurse's office for health-related issues before they graduated. In every case, even when it was taking an aspirin, the nurse called me before that aspirin was given. Even if my student had it in his possession and the teacher saw it and said, you need to go to the nurse's office. So I'm a little bit puzzled how we get from a nurse or a teacher needing parental consent to administer an aspirin and the idea that they would take them for an abortion. So I'm a little bit struggling.
Because of Proposal 3. because of what has been proposed is that abortion, it should be accessible for underage kids, and that it's their value system. Look at the value system of not telling parents if a student decides to call themselves something different. Where's the trust for the parents then that they will be notified? I mean, that doesn't apply to the law. So why would we trust that we would know that our daughters haven't been referred to some kind of physician if they're pregnant, that they go to a teacher and a teacher says something to them to go get it here or assist them there?
Michigan requires parental consent unless they go to a probate judge.
Well, I'll check that, but.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Question, clarification. Isn't there already a penalty for this, like a $100,000 penalty?
The penalty was attached to the original law if, no, there was a original penalty if the policy was not enacted by school districts.
Okay, thank you.
So now that the law has been repealed, then the penalty this policy doesn't make any sense.
No, because it was
the law
attached to a
is-
law.
It was attached to a law.
But it could
Okay.
be made sense,
Okay.
but we choose not to. I just wanted people to be aware.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay.
No.
All right. We'll call for the vote. Those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries 5-1. Okay, we have, actually, Member Sadhu wanted to share an update regarding some MASB items for the group.
Thank you, President Christensen. I had the opportunity to go to the Michigan Association of School Boards legislative update last week, Wednesday, and a lot of things were discussed that impact public schools, so I wanted to bring those up to the board for consideration in terms of conversations that we need to have because they will be impacting some policies at some point, as well as the public. So the first thing is for my board members, Region 8 of the Michigan Association of School Boards priority setting meeting is at Wayne Risa on October 10th from 6:30 to 8. And there is a meeting at 5:30 that will have additional information for the county. So I would encourage my board colleagues to attend, and I'll actually be at the earlier meeting as well. So you'll get something from Wayne County School Board Association and or MASB about this.
You already did, I think, today.
Okay, great. For the legislative update, we were joined by Senator Sam Singh, and he gave us some updates about what's happening in Lansing. So the first one is Senate Bill 911 that's passed the Senate and amends the MIPSR's rate reduction and codifies the rate reduction into law, which is one of the things that we have been talking about. I know some of us had advocated with our legislators about this. It would also remove the 3% contribution on eligible teachers that would give over 100,000 teachers that money back into their paycheck. There was also a discussion on the supplemental funding for districts to build on their current initiatives of safety and security because of 31A not getting as much funding. So there was a need by many school districts at the table that day to say, we need to keep that funding, in fact, grow it, because we've put in a lot of safety security measures. Now you take that funding away, how do we sustain that? So more is happening around that. Another item that was discussed was the dyslexia bill, Senate Bill 567. It requires districts to submit each student's reading plans, and that is to be submitted to the intermediate school district. So for us, it would be Wayne Risa, which then gets submitted to the Michigan Department of Education. We need to look at this because there are some really prescriptive items in this, as well as student information being sent to every level of government. So I think this is one of the things that we should look into, and if we see things that could be tweaked, I would encourage you to voice those concerns.
Just a clarification on that. Is that every student or only students that have been identified as dyslexic?
That's a good question. I think the individual reading plan goes for every student. Beth, could you help us with that one?
So currently, an individualized reading improvement plan is called the IRIP, is for students who are identified as needing an additional plan, but I'd have to dive into the legislation more deeply to see, is it really discussing all students, or is it specific to the IRIPs, to be honest?
Okay.
So.
I think the discussion at the state level was looking at all kids, but that's a great question. I'll get clarity on that one. Another one that impacts us and would possibly impact policy. And that is a FAFSA requirement. For those of you that don't know, FAFSA is a federal form that parents have to fill out, families have to fill out for their students as they apply for college. There is a movement to mandate FAFSA completion for all seniors. I went through FAFSA last year, and it was torture, it was painful, and I know there were bugs in the system. There are a lot of challenges with making this a graduation requirement. So we voiced those concerns, and they are listening. So again, I implore you to look into this, and if there's some concerning language in there, please voice those. But I think we're getting to a point where there's some sort of a amendment that would allow school districts to have their waiver, their local waiver, that would not be really prescriptive by the state. So we go from like this really prescriptive, everybody must do this, to, well, if you don't do this, we want this form for these kids. As you can imagine, the burden on school districts. And so, of course, we would have to amend our graduation policy that would include this language, as well as whatever the exempt form is that we choose. Lots of discussion needs to be had around that, so it's an FYI for all of you that this is coming. Another one is, actually I think this is a smart thing on the state's part to move forward with this. So the state recognizes that the increased use of tobacco and vaping products is harmful on our young people. We've had families come to us and say, what can we do? Well, there isn't a whole lot we can do to change state policy. So there is momentum at the state level to create harsher penalties for stores that sell to minors. That would be similar to selling alcohol. So right now there's a small fee, not a big deal, they can move on, they can pay those fees. But this would make it as equivalent to selling alcohol, which would then prevent access from our minors, our kids, getting a hold of those products. As well as trying to get the vaping companies and the stores to get away from those bubblegum flavors and make that attractive for students. So we want to make sure that our kids are safe and protected from this. The Michigan Association of School Boards also has a sample resolution, which is called Support and Protect Kids Bill Package in the Michigan legislature to address the lack of effective statewide tobacco policies. So I would like for us to consider that. So Madam President, I will send that to you. Okay. If you could share it with board members and then see if there's a discussion, if there is a discussion.
Sure. Yep, send it my way and I will distribute.
One last one, and this is going to be, and I mentioned this earlier, Senator Sampson also talked about a statewide ban on cell phones because there is a lot of information, a lot of awareness about the impact of cell phones, and states are looking at it. I think New York, Arkansas, parts of Georgia. So it's making its way around the country. And when that was introduced at the legislative session, the amount of emotion and passion that came out was really interesting. You go from school districts that are like, there's no way you will do this, there's no way we will accept this, to school districts saying this is welcoming because we're having these discussions and we're pitting students and families against teachers in schools. So again, I don't anticipate this being like a full-blown ban that everybody must do this. I see this as an ongoing conversation that we should have locally, and we did actually have that conversation in our SPA meeting. I think more parents need to be involved, students need to be involved, staff need to be involved, policyholders or policy folks need to be involved. And there is a lot of research out there that I would implore all of you to look into. And one of our SPA committee members asked me to attend the Anxious Generation webinar, which I did today. And a lot of information about the impact of not just cell phones, but social media and the different apps that are impacting our students' learning, starting from 2012, along with their mental health. So a lot of data, a lot of discussion. I'm giving everyone a heads up because if this conversation moves forward, I want you to be aware of it, that it's happening in Lansing, and we talked about it at our meeting. So that is my update.
Great, I appreciate your update.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, and on to section G, follow-up board questions. I know we had a couple from last meeting. I believe they were satisfied in board notes. Did we have any additional follow-up board questions from today? I made note of Member Sadhu's question around providing bond updates on the bond updates tab on the website.
Can I add clarity to that?
Sure, please.
Secretary Westra actually showed me her computer, and that was updated. So when I did the Google search, my page was not updated. So I guess the clarity would be, can we clean up that information to make sure that we only have updated information on BOD 2020?
And one of the good things that was done last year is that there was the updates of the, the project plan as of back in September of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
It would be really good to have those updates applied again for 2024, right? Because we've completed more things now.
Sure.
Right, and the schedule has been adjusted slightly again.
Great. I did hear, thank you for that clarification. I also heard a question around the dyslexia legislation, whether or not that actually would apply to all students, or if that's just students with reading plans. So maybe we could provide some update on that in board notes as well. Any other questions from today's meeting?
What was that called, the reading plan one? What was that one? That was the,
Senate Bill 567.
thank you.
Okay. All right, hearing none, that takes us to the end of our meeting here. So I'm going to adjourn at 8:55 p.m. Thank you, everyone.